they heard it differently. And so, and it worked. When I teach voice animation, or I used to teach it, and in fact, anybody on the team voices? I'm on YouTube. It's free. It's Michael Bell Voice Animation Class, Michael Bell Voice Animation Seminar. Just type it in. You don't even have to go to YouTube. Just type in Michael Bell Voice Animation Class. And I'm teaching a group of youngsters how to create characters vocally, how to change the tone of their voice. Because you can't just use your own voice. A long time ago, I mean, often people raise their hand and say, I'm told I have a great voice. You really have to study acting. You really have to train to be an actor. Sometimes you can get through. Sometimes it's a lucky break that you have a quality that works and it makes sense reading the script. And so I like that. You just never know. You can audition and think, wow, I just knocked it out of the ballpark, and it's crickets. You don't hear anything. So you just truly never know. So playing heroes, to answer your question, you just do the deal. But when you're playing a hero, you gotta stand in front of it. You can't sit. You have to stand in front of the mic. You gotta get your feet on the ground. You gotta get your body set. Because when I play certain characters as an actor, because I was trained, I try to get into as much as I can, even though nobody sees me, the body of it. It helps me portray the role. So vocally, I sound a little bit the way I stand. Somebody taught me how to do that. Well, I remember years ago, Julie Gerber, farmer's fabulous voice. She said, take the body, let the body do it for you. Wow, did that work? That truly works.
What about villains? What's more fun to play, villains or heroes?
Villains, right?
Villains.
Yeah, it's just what we call cheap scene.
Yeah,
Goal.
yeah, villains.
I play for villains. I've done the dance. If Lion-O, it's always here. Snarf, lock it up. Villain.
Well, I see you come from over.
That's right. You go crazy. Yeah, great fun.
I think almost any actor. Screen actor, stage actor, probably tell you that that's more fun.
Oh,
Like, it doesn't have to be a monster. TV show with a bad guy.
bad guy's always good. It's just a little bit more senior than they have. Yeah. It's just standard procedure. Just get, when somebody says to me, I grew up with you. Don't forget, we're adults doing this. So how grown up can be when you're like wackiness, like Quacker Jack, just madness, just reach down. Interesting thing, when you're the old days, we used to sit in a row and we would do a plea. We would sit around and we would read the script together as we were doing characters, I was doing the show. Nowadays you just go on, you do it, and there's nobody in the room with you. They come later because they're busy and then you wind up working by yourself. But in the beginning, we would sit around and we would do a plea and we would read the script together. And sometimes the director would say, okay, Mike, after I had my major role that I was already doing, you're farmer one. And Dan asked him letter and said, you're farmer two. And when you turn to their farmer, you're farmer three. If I was farmer one, great, I could do the farmer, that one farmer that I do. But if it came to Bill Farmer or Dan Castellaneta or Frank Rugger, and they were number one and I was number three, shit, they did mine. Bill Farmer does it. I had to come up with a different farmer. So I'm sitting there going, what kind of farmer can you do? We're doing no farmer here. Like, let's go for that. And then Dan would do that. Oh, damn, okay, now Dan did that one. Where's mine? So when I was teaching, I would say, you got to have 3 voices for one character, just in case. And just in case the director says, I don't like that. That's too obvious. Try something else. You've got to be able to have something else. So it was great fun. And we did the same thing as a villain. Most villains had deep voices. They always were down here. You always had something over here. I wouldn't, if they had a giant monster, I want do them like this. That big muscle, tiny head, big shoulders, tiny feet. I wanted to, no, they wanted that. And you don't work for about 2 days, 3 days after that, if you were announcing jobs, you wound up going home sounding like that. But that's the work you went through, that's what you did, that's what you did in the business.
40 years in the business, and find yourself playing the third farmer.
Third farmer, yeah, I wound up with, it was a great story. I had a Zoom show, and I had a huge career at this point. And they called me in to do a subsidiary or one of those guards and go, hey, you kids, get off of the. And one of those says, why I ought to. And so they brought in a star, a well-known actor who had never done voices. And he was opposite me. And you have a mic stand or a music stand with the script. As Larry knows, the script is open. Page 1 you see, page 2 you see. Then as you finish page 1, you go to page 2, you get to the bottom and middle of page 2, very gently you turn yours, there's no paper noise. Now you're down to page 3, because there may be a line at the bottom that still continues in the next page. This actor didn't know that. His pages were like this. I wasn't going to go over and say to him, no, Richard, it's up to the director. And she's directing it. She said, okay, just mind my own business. And he does his line, and he's the hero. Not only does he do his lines, he turns to the person next to him. Well, you're off mic. He's just doing, hey, baby, I really love you. And he's like, so I want to see, and I'm back to the Dublin. They're in the booth and they're going, oh, God. And she's not saying anything because he's a big movie star. So I'm kind of like looking at him, can't say anything because that's the director. It's deadly. And then after he finishes one page, he throws it on the floor. Now he's got a second page. He throws that on the floor. So he says, and this is the last time we're gonna go there. Oh, he's gonna be redoing this till he grows a mustache. I mean, he is not gonna get, he's gonna be here all night. We break for about 10-minute break. Anybody that goes to the bathroom, he's standing next to me, the urinal next to me. I want to say something, but I don't say anything. And he suddenly goes, I am shit. I am dying. I'm dying there. I am shit. I'm garbage. I'm dying. Why did I do this? I said, okay. You cannot tell the director what I'm going to say to you, but I will help you through this. First of all, are you interested in the suggestion? He turned around to me and said, yes, what? I said, well, first of all, you're peeing on my shoe. So first of all, I'll tell you, I said, what you have to do is, and I explained about the script, don't throw it on the floor, leave it open, don't turn to anybody. This is the other person. I said, Judy Garland in Wizard of Oz, she's talking to Auntie Anne. This is Auntie Anne. This is everybody you're talking to over here. Got it. And he went in and did the second half. Sailed through. And I hear them, they're all cheering and applauding in the booth. I can see them looking at each other and I say, schmucks. But that's,
We knew we hired the right guy.
we don't have to, it's not, yeah, I'm speaking with myself, there's other actors, shit, that would come. So, yeah, it's a mad business and fun, obviously.
I'm sorry, the throwing the script pages on the floor. We had one guy who did that one time. And we get to 3/4 of the way from the script. This off. Let's try it one more time.
Oh, for the time,
Or put it 38, 40 feet.
ages to do that, we gotta start all over again, it's so great when you work with a committed professional. I was fortunate, I was early on introduced to a great professional, and he looked at me and he said, okay, Mel Blanc. Looked at me and says, hey, sure, let's work. And then his son said, when you work with dad, I said, when I work with dad, I'll take my clothes off. Are you kidding me? I got to into the room, and I had not done much at that point other than on camera acting, which was really quite different. And he had to do something, and I had to do something, and I wound up doing the role that he was supposed to do because it was a dialect that he didn't have.
Oh, boy.
Mel Blanc didn't have, he said, Dad, you're East Indian, you're an East Indian, Michael, you're the guy buying a rug. So I said to him, sure, I'd like to buy this rug for it, it was some product, and he went, yes, and he did a whole thing, and he said, Dad, that's an indigenous Indian, you have to be an East Indian, and he did it again, yes, my son, we did it, so, Dad, that's 35 cents, hold on, Mike, can you do East Indian? And I looked at him and I said, yes, because I had studied, I had looked at all these dialects, all these, Peter Sellers did one in the movie, and I said, oh, I'm gonna do that. I wasn't an East Indian, but I was imitating, even though I believe in plagiarize, don't shave your eyes, is why God made your eyes. I just wound up just studying other actors and what they did. And because they had a lock on it, and I did it. So I said, oh my goodness gracious, yes, I can do it. And I'll be great to do this for you, etc., etc. I said, and when I left, I went, holy, I got a part that Mel Blanc couldn't do. It's impossible. That's not possible. Years later, we did Speed Buggy together. And what a professional humorist, most of you too young to remember the Jack Benny show years ago. You're not too young.
Oh.
He did a character, he did a car that went.
I know that one.
Okay, Benny, okay, it's that. So he's sitting over here, I'm sitting next to him. Another actor here, another actor here, another actor, and we're in high chairs that move either way, like stools without backs. And the booth is over there, directors, etc. And I'm playing the juvenile once again. Oh, what do we do now, buddy? I'm really in trouble. It's okay, Buzz, it's okay. First time I've done it with him, he goes, he goes, he comes back, and I went, wet. I mean, I could have sold it on eBay, not like spit. He just look at me. He's back to the mic. He's doing what he's supposed to do. And there's about 30 of these in the script. And each time he does it, I just hold my breath and he goes, I got you, buddy. I got you, buddy. I'm going. He comes back. Why he didn't say on the mic, I have no idea, but he wanted a feeling of trailing. The next week we do the show, and the guest bad guy is Alan Oppenheimer, who most of you probably know as Skeletor.
Mhm.
And he's an old buddy, he's a good friend. And he says, he comes in as Al, Mel, and he goes, hi, Mel, hi, good sick, and he's God, pleasure, such a pleasure. How you doing? Good to meet you, good to meet you. I don't know what he says. You know how, since you're the bad guy, why don't you sit next to me? Because most of the stuff is with him. I sat the actor on these tall chairs. At which point Al does this wonderful evil character. And then Steve says, well, there's no way you'll get away with that. Because I'm going to put an end to you. And I see Al go. Al is not just here, straight on the script. And then Al goes. And then the next one, Al goes again. And then finally Al turns around to me like this. I am now Mel Blanc. I'm looking at that script. Your Bible. This is so important. I've never read anything like it's Shakespeare. I think it's so caught up. And I can feel his eyes boring. Every time Mel did, by the third time that Mel went, Al went, the whole chair like that. So my chair, the next actor's chair, the next actor's chair. So all of us took this all. And I thought the director's going to need a Dramamine because just like nauseous. That was real nice. And of course, during the break, I Next week, I took off and ran around Hanna-Barbera out on Ventura Boulevard. I just took off because I knew that Al was looking for me. I could see he's getting ready to get out of his seat to go after me. Really, really fun, great fun. And Mel Blanc had on his license plate KMIT. And I thought that was a radio station. And what did it mean in Hebrew? It's Kish and Tuchis, kiss my ass. That's it. Big side story.
We had, if I may.
Yeah.
Good same situation, Thundercats, Earl Hammond
Oh, my gosh.
played Mumra. Remember when you're watching, Mumra comes out and transforms from mummy to monster. Television. Character, like green bile. Well, in Earl Hammond, he did that part of his character. He would start sitting to go to the line of the ancient spirit of transform. You might say, yeah. Hey.
This sound any better?
Yes.
He would,
You know, what he says, literally, actors commit. When you see great actors on stage, especially English actors, for whatever reason, the British actors, they are so. I directed Tim Curry in Peter Pan, about 80 segments of Peter Pan for Fox. And I wound up directing him with about 10 kids and a whole bunch of wonderful, wonderful actors. Tony and Tim, etc. And then Kim played Captain Hook. You literally, but that's what they do. He really committed. He really was into it. It's just amazing to see that kind of actor work. And that's it. I learned from other actors. That's what we did. We learned from other actors. I learned from other strippers, so why not?
Open it up to the audience.
Yeah, good question. Yes.
Mr. Kenney,
yes,
your daughter is Carrie Kenney, right?
Gary Kenney Silver.
From the state, and I know you did some of the intros
Yes.
off the state, right?
Yeah.
What was that for you?
He presents the state.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, she's doing really well. She has a big movie that series coming out on the 4 seasons.
Great.
Yeah, Steve Carell, her husband, and Tina Fey. It's Tina Fey's short. Really funny. It was a movie 4 seasons. She met him. The original 4 seasons, I think. It's a story about 3 couples. 4 times a year, go together to something. Get together, friends, get together once or twice a year. So that's what the movie's about. And Alan Alda was telling somebody on the cast through the day. And so they wanted him, he wrote this one too, but it's 90. And he didn't write himself into it. They asked him, you know, play this character's father. Couples. And somebody said, Barry Kenney Silver, like, he said, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Cool.
So let's try to, so May 1st, next week, on 4 seasons.
Watching the 4 seasons. Next week, his daughter.
You over there.
Well, yes, it's nice to see another good old time voice actor see.
A good old time voice actor. Thank you.
I've been doing this thing since 2021, you know, it's a good chance to meet with voice actors that inspire me in the voice sector.
Good.
I could just, Jason Marsden, Jim Cummings, Will Cohen, Rob Olsen, Lisa Marsh. And to add to about the topic about whether it's good and whether either it's better to be either the hero or villain when it comes to voice acting, I would say it would be fun to play both because, for instance, Jim Cummings voiced both Darkwing Duck and this evil lookalike Megatron. So I say it's fun to play both the hero and the villain. Wouldn't you say?
Well, you get more money if you play the hero. So it depends on how much money you need.
Hey, I'll just be my own voice actor. I still got a lot to learn about. Using YouTube app to record like vocal impressions on video. That would be more fun.
Well, just don't take any jobs from me, that's all I can tell you.
Maybe I'll come to you sometime in the future.
As I said, if you go to YouTube and you go to Michael Bell Voice Animation Seminar or Michael Bell Voice Animation class, it's free, doesn't cost anything.
Just watch the video.
It's, yeah, no, I teach you an hour and a half how to create character voices, how to develop character voices. No, you're not watching the video, you're watching the video, it's obviously, I did it, I recorded it, because I'm not gonna do it every week. And I did it, and you watch me train other actors. And no, but it was live at the time, but you watch me train other actors.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's really, it's really fun, it's really great.
It's such a shame that DJ Warren, lost this job.
Yeah.
Next,
They'll make it next year, yeah, I'll make sure they
they
make it.
stole the bar.
And
It's nice to see.
nice to meet you.
You're right,
Yes. What's your name?
Oh, no.
Will,
Yes, so I think that's as the theater, you know,
the theater, that'll give us something, yes.
how different is voice acting for a video game compared to like?
How different is voice acting for a video game compared to an animated show, I guess, to an animated show? Well, you have time in a video game because there's no commercials. So you can really add, you can improvise, you can play, you can develop, you can breathe. Kind of difficult to do that when you're doing an animated show because it's composed, it's comprised in a certain amount of time. So you have a line, an example is, if the line is, I think we better get going, and there's a pause, now, with an exclamation mark, you go, I think we better get going, now. In a video game, you go, I think we better get going, now. And you can take your time. Right, and whatever. When I was directing, I would tell people, you have a beat here, but make it a beat it. You don't have the time for, because you have people at home watching an animated show and nobody's saying anything. It's not as if you're doing a live action show. You can move in on the camera moves in and you can see the actor thinking about it, about a possibility. Even then, you don't just wait not a long time. Nobody does that in life. I don't think I've ever thought that long before I made a decision. But there are times when you think about something, and say, yeah, I'm gonna do that. But you don't go, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, wake up. So you certainly can't do that in animation. So it's gotta be a beat it. And that's the difference. In terms of a video game, wow, you have the latitude to play and improvise and have a really great time, bring things to it that you couldn't do generally in animation, unfortunately. Any other question? This gentleman here, and then you after that.
I was curious, with all the death that occurred in Transformers from the two, were you
He asked if with all the deaths that happened in Transformers, the movie, was I concerned? When somebody once asked me, well, how did you feel when they killed Prowl? I said, it was great. I love being out of work. Thanks. And then they tried to kill me on G.I. Joe. I read the script and it said, Duke dies. And I said, well, who's the guy playing my brother? He said, Don Johnson. I said, kill him. Nobody knows who he is. I did Miami, whatever that thing was. I can't be bothered. I said, kill him. So they brought me back. I said, and then when I was doing Voltron, they said, Mike, we killed Sven. What? Open war on Michael Bell? Tell me left and right. Yeah, that's no fun. Yes, it concerns you. Nobody wants to die on a series or a soap opera or anything of that. Yes.
Yes, as recording technology has evolved through the decades.
Recording technology, yeah.
Has it, have you had to adapt your voice acting, or has it changed your voice acting from?
I don't think it has. I think it's giving you some, the young lady wants to know if the new voice, the technology has changed voice acting or the approach to voice acting. Not really, not to my knowledge. I don't do that much animation anymore. My stuff is mostly dubbing now. I dub for Netflix and for Disney, foreign films, which is a whole different animal. But in terms of technology, I don't think, I think the differences in animation, when we were doing animation early on, we did bigger than life stuff. You go, oh, well, what do we do now? Nowadays, you go, what do we do now? It's totally different. You had to really, for whatever reason, and it wasn't so much volume, but it was energy. Your energy was hyper. You were a real villain. You were really a big hero. Now I think it's not as big. You don't go as big, unless maybe it's a kid show, maybe on SpongeBob. I don't know, I have no idea, because I don't watch animation, but I've watched some stuff that friends are doing, and I says, wow, they're much calmer. You know why? Because the technology they used to paint the characters. These were all hand painted. So you'd see a mouth move, they go, what do I do? He goes, oh, really? And then something would pop up and you'd have to fill in. Now it all comes together automatically. You don't have to worry about it. Yeah, there is a difference. It's easier, I believe. I believe it's easier. Yeah.
All right, unfortunately, that's all the time we have. You have to get ready for the next panel. Mr. Bell, Mr. Kenney, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for being- I'm gonna be in Chattanooga in August. It's close here, isn't it? Yes. Okay, come see me.
Right, so, it's background, I don't.
You don't have to be as long. Stay.
Reminder that you have to be on the event now, that's fine for you to stay for the next second. If not, we're gonna stay. We're gonna guess.
I see. Look at that, the chicken. Well, look at the chicken. Oh, I ain't got my phone. Guess I need to stay for living with Shatner though too, huh? You know what? Man, say the William Shatner show.
Just try it on his line, my.
Yeah. All right. I'm such a good William Shatner. Okay, I'll do that one. Almost forgot. I said I worked the William Shatner show too. See, that was up next, ain't it?
Yeah, that's what you had.
All righty, gotta film that one. All right. So I'll set it back up. Oh, let me give Glenn this real quick. Here, let me set this back up right here then. I guess you just thimble back. Give me a check.
Yeah. That's all.
No, no,
But this is such a horrific. And we're not like jammed. I think everybody shoots pretty well. And I don't think I always do. That Eleanor.
Are you like come right here?
Yeah.
Complete nerve authority.